Here's the Mindful Man reading chapter 29, entitled Funeral. He still had to go to school, and he and Anne walked together in near silence. When they got near the school gate, she gave him a hug and kiss, which did help. Although Alf was nothing like a normal, loving dad, Simon didn't want anything bad to happen to him. Simon had a loving heart, and it was rare for him to think of or do anything unkind to anyone. Unfortunately, kindness was often not appreciated and seen as weakness. He sat in the classroom as all the teachers discussed the situation and ran around like busy bees. Halfway through Maths, the headmistress came into the lesson and motioned Simon to follow. In his heart, he knew it was bad news. His heart was beating like a drum, and the colour had drained from him like ink from a pen. When Simon was told the bad news, he could hardly take it in. He had never known anyone to die before, and it was strange and shocking. Like most boys, he didn't cry, he just kept the feelings to himself and wondered what would happen to him, and especially Sandy. It was quietly explained to him that Anna's parents would let him live with them, and they also had a place for Sandy to stay. This eased Simon's pain a little. He hadn't told anyone about his dad's beating and the jobs he had been made to do. He wanted to keep things private. He's still my dad, thought Simon, as tears pricked his eyes. The next few days went by in a blur. They made a small bedroom for him and a smaller room outside for Sandy. It was a relief to him that she was being looked after. Simon stayed in his room, and for the first few days he found it hard to mix. It was unnatural to him. He wasn't used to the silence, and he wasn't used to no one ordering him about or shouting at him. The one thing lurking in the distance like a giant iceberg was the funeral. He'd never been to one before, and he never expected or wanted to. Anna's parents explained to him that he didn't have to go if he didn't want to. He decided that he did, as he wanted to face the reality of what had happened. He was strong because he had to be, he had no choice. When the day came, the trees were full of early frost and the sky was smoky grey. It was as if nature was mourning along with him. The graveyard was cold and barren, and there were few mourners. As the coffin sank into the hard ground, no one was crying, and the only moaning was the wind. To Simon, the lowering of the casket signified an end to one life and the beginning of another. The next few days went by in a blur. Then slowly, ever so slowly, he began to see a dim light in the distance, and it was hope. Despite all the cruelty and lack of concern his dad had shown him, he still missed his presence. The thing that Simon found most painful was that he couldn't conjure up one happy memory or experience he had shared with his father.